Hey guys, welcome back to How to AP Lang. Today we're going to be talking about how to study in your final 30 days to the exam. So hopefully this is coming out 30 days before the AP exam on May 13th. Maybe I got my timing wrong, but I don't think I did. I think this should be coming out 30 days before your AP exam. So you should be studying before in this final 30 days, what should you be studying, how should you be studying, things like that. Because I think some classes like history, you can or physics or something, you can really pick out, oh, I need to study this unit, I need to study this time period, whatever. And then, or I need to practice multiple choice, I need to practice the LEQ, I need to practice short answers, I need to practice whatever it may be. So you can really practice skills easier. But on the AP exam for Lang, it's a little bit more convoluted. How do you practice just multiple choice? How do I practice just writing essays? So this is hopefully going to give you some overall study tips so that you're also not, I'm not going to tell you to do like 10 hours a week. I'm telling you to do the bare minimum study. You can obviously do more, but here are just some strategies that I suggest. So this is very similar to a video that will be coming out in a few days where I'm talking about, or it may have come out already, when I talk about kind of how to prepare for your essays, how to study for the essays and things like that, just ways to kind of get ready for this exam. So how do you study for multiple choice? So I suggest starting with doing a document or so per day. I don't suggest doing more than a document per day at first, or maybe doing one every other day, but a document is normally about 8 to 10 multiple choice questions. So that's either one of the draft or one of the overall essays, and that's like, oh, this essay is about like ebooks versus Kindles. That's one of my favorite ebooks versus normal books. That's one of my favorite ones. So you do it, you do the multiple choice, that's it. And this will slowly help you ease into AB style questions. How are these questions going to be worded? What types of questions are these? I suggest doing your first day being one of the document ones, like one of the basic passages, and the other one being a draft. So you at least get a feel for them, and then going back and forth. After a few days, or when you have time, whenever it may be, start doing about 2 per day. I don't suggest doing 2 per day at first. I suggest doing it after a little while, but just so you can start doing a little bit more, start feeling the rhythm of them, and will also help you start building strategies and familiarity. If you're really doing one a day or one every other day, you're not going to feel like a tempo. It's just going to feel like more of a chore. But once you start doing a little bit more, you're going to start feeling a little bit more comfortable with the exam. What's eventually going to happen is after some time, you should try a full exam of MCQs. I believe this is 45, but my number might be a little wrong, but I believe it's 45, and I think I'm right on that. But if it's 45, that's a lot of questions. I suggest doing it all at once. It's an hour at most because that's what you have on the exam. So I suggest doing it in an hour, trying to time yourself. It's going to feel like a lot at first. It's going to feel like a lot of questions. It's going to feel boring. It's going to feel tenuous. You're probably not going to do it in the first full hour. And it's going to be very tiring. And you also will sadly likely not do very well. You might get one document completely right. You're likely probably going to start off doing pretty well. However, as time goes on, you're probably going to start struggling. You're going to start making like overlooking mistakes, probably dumb mistakes, and it's going to start struggling. But what I suggest doing is finding your issues and then doing MCQ documents like the ones you got wrong. So maybe you find I got all of my draft passages right, which is what happened to me. However, I was really struggling on some of the harder passages, the passages that are very complex with a lot of words. Or maybe it's like I do very well in the more modern things. However, I struggle when it's like from the 18th century or the 17th century, and it's like a lot of older words. So you find those types of issues and you find your weaknesses and practice them. Don't just do like, oh, I'm going to do another draft because I'm good at them, because you should do the things you're good at to practice closer to the exam as well. But don't spend as much time on them. I think that's kind of obvious. I feel like a lot of the MCQ things are pretty obvious. I think even so, you definitely shouldn't take it for granted. You definitely should try to practice them and still try to do well, because you really don't want to throw away points. I'll say. I don't think you should be like, oh, I'm just going to not study as much in this area. I'm going to do more in this area. You really want to try to attack it. How do you study for the essays? I know I'm kind of going through this a little bit quickly, maybe a little bit. I don't think so much quicker than my other videos, but even so, I think a lot of this is just kind of common sense. I think you should study the way you want to study. I think the multiple choice is a little bit more straightforward than the essays. However, I think a big thing with the multiple choice is that it's going to feel like a lot. You really don't want to rush through it. You really don't want to take it not seriously at first. I think you really want to treat the multiple choices what they are, because they're 45% of your exam. The essays, though, are 55%. So what you should be doing, I suggest doing at least one practice essay for each of your essays. So there's 3. There's synthesis, argument, and synthesis. Synthesis, argument, and rhetorical analysis. Sorry. You probably could do like one a week is going to get you pretty much to AP exam. So I suggest not doing one a week. Maybe try to do like all 3 in the first 2 weeks. So it gives you a lot of time to practice. 3 total. Do not do them time. Don't say I'm going to do each one in an hour. Don't say I'm going to do all 3 in a 2-hour and 10-minute frame. Don't do that. You really want to practice just learning how to write the essay. Eventually, I do suggest that you time yourself. I suggest you say, Even though this was my first one, I did it in an hour and a half, and then I can work down from there. So I suggest knowing where your starting point is and not just guesstimating. Have AI or some other grade source grade them and give them feedback. Also, we have the Google form below where you can send them in as well, so that helps. And one thing I didn't write down in the slide, I thought I didn't write it down, but I was just saying, is that eventually I do think you should try to do all three in a 2 hour, 10-minute frame. I think it's challenging. I think most people aren't going to. But if you're not going to do that, I suggest at least trying to do each one in about 40 minutes. That's also hard. Maybe say rhetorical analysis, I'll do like 50. But even so, I suggest not having your first time do it under a time frame beyond the AP exam. Most people will not do more than a few practice essays. Let's be honest here, you're watching this video, you're probably only going to do like 1 or 2 of each. However, that's fine as long as you know the skills, as long as you're aware of saying, oh, I'm going to not do that much practice for this exam. I'm probably going to do 1 synthesis practice essay. However, I'm going to make sure I understand how to read synthesis docs, because that's going to take a lot less time out of your day, and it's going to be very rewarding as well. Not as rewarding, but it definitely can help you a lot still. And it's recommended that you practice with the essays you struggle with more. Don't just only do argument essays if you're doing well on them, because you might say, I want to get a 6 out of 6 on the argument essay because I might be at a 4 out of 6 right now. However, it's better to have all 3 essays out of 4 out of 6 than have a 6 out of 6 and 2 3 out of 6s. Actually, my math might be wrong. That's a 6, 9, 12. And the other one is a 6 plus a 6, a 4, like it's about the same, actually. However, you really don't want to let any essays drop to like a 2 out of 6, because that's where you're going to start struggling. Because again, there's no guarantee you'll ever get a 6 out of 6 on an essay. You want to work all of your essays up to a decent point, because what's going to happen is if you even have them all up to like a 4 out of 6, you're going to sometimes drop points. However, there's going to be adrenaline. There's going to be other things going through your mind. So you're probably going to be able to sustain that. If you want to do better and get them like all the 5 out of 6s, that's very good as well. But I suggest not trying to aim for, you can also, I would suggest trying to get at least one, so maybe a 6 out of 6 range, but don't let the other 2 drop to like 2, 3 out of 6s, because that's not good either. You really want to have them at strong points, so at least all of them are probably at around a 4 out of 6, so you understand the skills and can probably get at least the thesis and 3 evidence points. If you then want to say, I'm going to get 4 evidence points on and sophistication like the argument one, that's fine, but I really suggest at least having the foundations down. This is the last thing. If you're not a strong writer and you're going into this saying, I need to learn how to write a good essay and I need to write these essays, I suggest learning general skills. Learn how to write a good essay on its own. Like, obviously, you can learn how to write an essay easy. However, say practice just writing normal things. Like don't practice for the exam. Just practice writing normally. Do normal writing practice, because that's going to get you more points. If you go into the exam saying, I know how to write a synthesis essay, but you're not a strong writer going into it, you're going to struggle a lot. I suggest going into it having good writing skills, having good essay foundations, and then working off of those with how to write it in this context. So I think that's something a lot of people overlook. I think it's a very hard thing to just like admit also that you're not a great essay writer. I think there are people who are able to. I think a lot of people are a little bit afraid to admit that, though. That's certainly not a bad thing. However, it's something not to be blamed for, definitely, but I think you should have that in mind and understand how you need to attack these next few days, because at this point we have 30 days left. So I hope this video was helpful in showing you how you can prep in your last 30 days to the exam. I hope you're starting to feel it, hopefully become a little bit more real, even if you're not exactly there yet. I definitely recommend slowly getting to the point where you're ready for that exam and you're ready to really attack this thing. I have a lot of videos coming out in the next 30 days. I know I've been a little bit more quiet on this channel the past little while. However, a lot of videos planned. I hope I can really help you guys prep for this exam. Aside from that, comment below what you guys want to see, things like that. Aside from that, this is How to Be Playing, and see you guys in the next one.